Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here really to do a little what's going to be, I suppose, probably a mini series, because I suspect it will go over a few episodes, but I'm not really too sure yet. Depends how quick we move, really. Basically, lots of you requested me to do some videos showing how I made my personal holiday journal. So I thought we would, you know, come on and do a similar type of journal. I have got lots of videos written down in notes that have been requested, so I will be coming to requests, but obviously it's going to take a little while to get around to doing them. So I thought I would start with that. So my holiday journal consisted of painted magazine pages. So I had quite a few queries as to what type of magazine pages, were they glossy, what paint did I use, and things like that. So I thought I'd come on and share the process from start to finish. So the magazine pages that I used this magazine, Scrapbook Creations. As you can see, it's now all kind of glued together with paint. Basically, I mean, the pages are bigger than A4. If I just grab an A4 sheet to show you. Oops. So they're wider than A4, but they're not as long, if that makes sense. So unfortunately, I can't fit you completely into frame. But yeah, they're not quite as long, i.e. they're about there, but they are, you know, probably a centimetre or so wider than the A4. But that's fine, you know, any size is absolutely fine. So all I did was flicked through the magazine. I mean, this is an old magazine from my scrapbooking days, and I just flicked through the magazine and just tore out a whole bunch of pages. So I'll just do that again. Now, I don't worry that they're, you know, scrappy on the edges. I quite like that. So, you know, if that bothers you, obviously you could trim your edge pages down. I don't mind that, but I understand that, of course, that wouldn't be to everybody's liking. So just tear out a whole bunch of pages. So I'm just going to do four, just for the purposes of, you know, showing you. Now, the paints that I used, so sorry, back to the magazine pages just quickly. So as you can see, I mean, I did answer a few comments. The pages are regular magazine pages, is the only way I can describe them. So they've got that sort of sheen on them. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. They are not matte, they are glossy. They're not as glossy as the cover of the magazine, obviously, but they have got that sort of sheeny, glossy finish, if that makes sense. So they're just regular, you know, what I would term regular magazine pages. And obviously they're not overly thick, but by the time that you put the paint on them, it will thicken them up. So I've got a couple that I've already done, just to kind of give you, you know, the difference basically. So this is some that I already painted before my holiday. And as you can see, it's given it a bit more stability, really. Made it a bit less flimsy and a bit more workable. So that's what we're aiming to do. Now, the paint that I used, again, I'm probably going to struggle to fit this in. I have used a regular matte emulsion. That's what we call it here in the UK. I'm struggling obviously to fit this in, I'm afraid, but that's what we call it here in the UK. And by that, what I mean is the normal, again, that word normal, what I would call normal paint that you paint your inside walls on your house. I don't know whether it's termed emulsion in other parts of the world. It may be called something else, but that's the paint that I have used. So this is just some leftover paint that we have actually, you know, painted in our house before. And I really like the colour of it. This one here is a Crown paint and it's called Antique Cream. Again, I don't know whether Crown is available elsewhere or whether it's just a UK thing, but that's what I used. Now, I applied my paint with this brush. So it's a 2-inch, you know, again, what I would term a regular brush for painting and decorating inside of your house. Obviously, you can play around and try other methods. You could easily use those little foam they're like a brush, but they've got like a kind of flat edge. You could use those if you prefer. You could use a little roller. You know, you can get those tiny rollers. You could use those if you prefer. I have used a brush because that's what I had to hand. You know, I am not saying that the brush is the best method. I suspect a roller probably, A, is faster, and B, you wouldn't get then brush marks, which if I can show you here, you've got slight brush marks. Again, I don't mind that. I think that adds to the interest on the page, but you know, play around and see what suits you best, because you know, I suspect that a roller probably would do the job better. So I obviously did this in the garden because, you know, I don't particularly want to be painting all these random sheets of paper inside at my messy desk, and I would very rapidly run out of space to actually put them around. So I obviously utilised the nice weather and did them out in a garden just over an afternoon, and I painted lots. So I had plenty for my own personal journal. I had some for the True Junk journal that I did a couple of process videos on, and as you can see, I've got 4 or 5 sheets left over. So obviously for this series of videos, I'm going to paint up a load more, so that I've got enough to do hopefully another True Junk journal, and as well another one, you know, similar to my holiday journal, so that we can then embark on the process together. So if I just, you know, this is not rocket science, but if I just show you basically all I've done, if I actually can get into my tin of paint, hold on. Obviously this is quite a well-used tin because as I say, we did actually, you know, this is a tin that we've used inside our house, so it's quite old, and it's been opened lots of times, so now I'm going to struggle to actually open it. So I probably should have opened it before starting my video. Let me try and find, there we go, right. Again, probably shouldn't really be just using my scissors to open it. So literally all I'm going to do, and this was where the front of the magazine has been covered in paint, is because obviously I used that to lean on when I was in the garden. But as I say, I mean, I am just going to paint very roughly one on here. Now, if you watched my other videos, I did mention that you are better off doing this in many light coats rather than one thick coat. So obviously, as you can see, this first coat is really not particularly covering it at all. Well, I mean, it is covering it, but you know, it's very opaque and you can see straight through to the magazine page. That is preferable than doing thick coats, and the reason being is because if you do thick coats, when you fold your magazine pages, they can crack and the paint will come off. Now, I have found they are absolutely fine if you paint using several coats. So there we go. And then all I'm going to do is leave that to dry, and then I will do a second coat. Probably the second coat will be sufficient, and that will be covered, because obviously as well, we are going to be decorating these pages. So, you know, they're going to have some things stuck over them. And as you can see, if I just pull these back in again, these have had 2 coats. They're pretty well covered. I mean, you can see odd outlines, but you'd have to look very closely to actually see that. So I think 2 coats is absolutely fine. Yeah, and that's probably all there is to say. And obviously, once it's dry and the 2 coats are dry, you can then turn them over and do the reverse side. That's it. That's all there is to it for prepping the pages. And although this seems like a bit of a time-consuming, protracted process, I mean, I love this because A, you're using up stuff, you're reusing those magazine pages, which I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of old magazines that, you know, I no longer would look at. So I love the fact that I'm reusing those. And to be honest, is it really any, you know, more time consuming than coffee dyeing our paper? You know, I don't know, it maybe is, but you know, it's nice to have a different look, isn't it? And that's all that we're going for here is something different. And of course, I have used cream. You could use any colour that you like, which is again another quite nice thing about this, is because you could do whatever you like. You could have grey, you could have kind of a beige colour, you could go for something brighter, you could have a lovely duck egg blue. You know, you've really got a lot of different options. So, and again, obviously you could pick up the paint if you don't have paint left over from your house. You can pick up paint often on the like reduced section, or certainly you can here in the UK. Often where they've had people come in, you know, on their machine where you can mix up the colours, they often mix it, and so then they can't sell that. And so sometimes they may sell quite a large, you know, tin of paint for maybe a couple of pounds or something. So, you know, there's options there as well for buying your paint if you don't have any. Right, so I'm going to obviously crack on and paint the rest of my pages outside, and I will come back. It probably won't be today, but I will come back to do the next part of the video. So see you soon. Right, I am back from having painted my magazine pages. Now I do have a confession to make. Although I said just 2 coats of the paint, I did actually have to do 3 coats, because again I would rather do it much thinner than a thick coating that then will crack. So I actually did 3 coats, and that's 3 coats each side. So I mean, it is quite a protracted process really, but I do like the appearance, and it's really nice to use different techniques and mediums and things like that in your journal. So, you know, although it is a protracted process, I think it's still worth doing. So here I have a whole bundle of these sheets, and I thought I would just quickly bring along my holiday journal, because those of you who haven't actually seen what we're now going on to make, I thought I'd best come and bring it along so that you get an idea of the journal that we're making. So mine is just fastened together with just some fabric, and it's just very shabby and just torn around. So that's that. And then this is the inside of my journal. So as you can see, most of the entries are mine, but we do have 1 or 2 where the children have obviously filled in bits and bobs. My daughter, she did some lovely pictures, which now I can't find any of them. I've got some blank pages which I will fill in afterwards with photos and things like that. But my daughter, she just drew some pictures there. She's put, "We love France so much." So, and she did draw another picture actually that, there we go. I think she drew another one as well, but anyway. So that's the journal that we're endeavouring to make. It's got these huge pockets because it was made from a paper bag. So it's got these huge pockets which I stuffed in memorabilia and things that, you know, of places that we visited, and there's a map in there and things like that. Because it was a paper bag, they are obviously very, very roomy pockets. Now this is a very shabby, junky jewellery, junky journal, let's call it. So as you can see, I have just glued all the paper bag ends together. I am not worried about the bulk and things like that. So before we get started with the paper bag, I just want to make that known really, because I'm sure that lots of people have much neater ways of doing their paper bags and things like that. But again, if you watch my channel quite a bit, you'll know, I mean, I can't be doing with anything that's a bit fiddly and fussy, or, you know, requires a bit of precision, because I don't really get on with measuring or precision and things like that. So, you know, I find that is not within my capabilities, and I don't work that way. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to put my journal to one side. I have brought along a couple of books that I'm still deciding and debating which book to use, because obviously I did use images from books. So I've got this one here, which is a Ladybird one. It's got obviously gorgeous colourful images, really pretty. Or I have this one that was gifted to me by Laura, and it's the Shy Little Kitten. It's a golden book. Again, absolutely gorgeous images, aren't they? Beautiful, beautiful images. So I'm still debating which one to use, and I have brought along this fabric. I've used this fabric before in other journals in small quantities, but I absolutely love this. So where obviously in my journal I have just combined this fabric, I've gone with just this fabric. I haven't intermixed other fabrics. I'm going to do the same concept, just using this one. So those are the supplies that I'm going to be using. I should just move those out of the way, and obviously any rubbish and things that are around my desk, which again, if you watch my channel a lot, you will know there's a lot of stuff on my desk, so I will not be short of supplies. So the bag that I'm using, I've just got a H&M bag. It's a paper bag. I don't know the measurements because again, I don't measure. Now this particular bag, it did have the wire covered handles, which I have now torn off, and I'd kept by thinking, oh, I'll show you. Oh, here we go. So it did have these handles here, which I have torn off. I recently watched a beautiful tutorial from Clemmie's Creations where she's making some paper bag journals, and she's left these wire handles on, and then obviously you've got handles for your journal. So of course you could use that method and leave them on. I have taken them off. I may save them actually. I was going to bin them, but actually I might just save them just in case I want to do that in future on another journal. So I shall save those. I won't be able to find them obviously, but I will save them. Right, so all I'm going to actually do is obviously fold my paper bag up in the middle, because obviously the natural place for it to want to fold is where that bulky flap is. I don't want it folding there. I want to fold it, you know, in the middle, so I have a same size front and back cover. So now obviously I want to get rid of all of these folds. So all I am actually going to do is glue them down. Again, just want to reiterate the point that of course there are other methods to do this, and there are much better ways of doing it to be able to get rid of that bulk. But personally, I don't really mind the bulk being there, and you know, I'm not about the measuring, so, or the fiddly process. So I'm just going to glue the bag on any areas. Sorry, I'm trying to still use this glue up on any areas which would be open flapping, let's say. Open flapping doesn't really make much sense, does it? But you know what I mean. Any areas that would be open and not actually attached. So we've got that one there, and then I'm just going to go in here into this fold, and then of course we need to glue this flap here down. And actually I'm just wondering, did I use that? I might have actually used that as a pocket. Let me just check in my journal, because obviously it's a few weeks since I made mine. I have to just remember, oh, I did use that as a pocket. Yeah, I remembered in time, although I have just run some glue down. So let me just grab my dry wipe back. So just wipe that glue off, and I just glue it there. So I want to do exactly the same now on the other side. And again, you know, you could probably stitch this if you didn't want to glue it. The choice is yours. There's lots of options. And as I always say, these are junk journals. There's no right or wrong. There's no rules. It's just find the method that suits you best. For me, the method that suits me best is the no measuring, you know, fastest method. But of course I do realise that a lot of people do like precision and do like measuring and all that type of stuff. So do what comes naturally for you. So there we go. So we're just gluing that bit all down. Okay. I seem to have come back with a bit of a cold now from my holiday, so excuse me if I'm sniffing at all. Right. And I'm just going to glue down where the flaps are not quite glued. You know, that's not me not having glued them, that's how the bag is. Okay. So what I might do now is I'm going to just tuck that under my leg and sit on that so as it's gluing down. So whilst that's gluing down, we're going to take our painted pages, and I'm going to take probably 8 or 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8, which that's quite a decent sized journal. I mean, obviously once you fold them over, the 8 becomes 16, becomes 32 sides. So that's a reasonable size journal, I think, for, you know, a small junky travel journal anyway. So I might just do it that size, because also this paper bag, I don't know whether I said this already, sorry, the size of your journal is going to depend on the size of your bag, and this paper bag is not the same size as the paper bag that I used previously. So again, if I just pull my journal back, mine was using a paper bag my son had given me. His was a lot taller once it was folded over, and when I fold mine in half, I'll just see how it compares. Right, so mine was also wider, so, or his was also wider, sorry. So this is going to be a smaller journal anyway, because the size of the bag. But again, that's fine. We can just go with that. So there we go. So obviously you're going to need to cut your pages down to fit inside the new size. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to cover the paper bag. Again, completely up to you whether you wanted to do this before or after the process of binding your pages. I'm going to do it first because I did it first on my journal, and I just thought it added a bit of strength to the bag. Right, so I'm going to use for the cover this sheet here from my Botanical Ballroom kit. I wanted something nice and bright so as it looks really fun and appealing, I guess, to the eye. So all I'm going to do, now this is just printed on copy paper, and I have to confess that my own journal, it was printed on slightly thicker paper, but I'm just trying to use what I've actually got to hand and not keep running up and down to the printer and things. So all I'm going to do is actually Mod Podge this onto the paper bag. So just get my Mod Podge, oops, that's now stuck shut, and get my brush. Probably really would be better off with a thicker brush than this, but again, this is just the brush that I have got. So, and again, obviously the paper that I'm using is A4 size, so that's not going to quite cover the whole of the paper bag, but I'm not worried. We will just fill that in with anything really, anything else that I've got to hand. So we're just Mod Podging this all over, a really good coating so that it's really nicely stuck onto there. There we go. And then right to the edge And obviously on this edge, we're going to cut it open to make another one of those big pockets. So, you know, whilst we're going right to the edge, we are actually going to slice that open, but I tend to do that after I've popped the paper down. Again, no rules. I'm not saying that that's the only way. I'm just saying historically, or not necessarily historically, but in the past, I just happen to have done it that way. So it's just, that seems to be how I have done it. Right, just going to pop that down. Again, I'm just going to take my card here and just spread that out so that hopefully it's going to be reasonably well stuck and wrinkle-ish free. I say wrinkle-ish free because obviously there might be the odd wrinkle, but again, this is a junk journal. It's really fine. Well, I think it's really fine anyway. Hopefully you guys think it's fine too. There we go. I've got a lot of things planned for videos, so I hope you're going to stick with me on my channel because I mean, it's just a case of having time to do all the things I've got planned, really. But hopefully lots of exciting things coming up. We are going to make another true junk journal, which I did a couple of process videos of the one that I've already made. So I'm going to make another one of those, but hopefully start to finish process on video is the plan. Oops. And we're going to as well do some videos using some of the pieces that we've been making in the mass making workshops, because I know that lots of you have requested that. So I have been making notes of the videos that you guys have been requesting, and it's just a case of obviously having time to do them. Right, so that's my cover, the outside of the cover. So all I'm going to do is just snip this open like that. And I'm just going really close to the edge of that bag. Oops, like that. And then you've got that nice roomy pocket in there. So really good. And then what I did was obviously glued down these little pieces which otherwise would possibly be in the way. So we will just do that now. And all I'm going to do is glue this on one side like that, and then glue down any other bits. Now these bits that I'm gluing, these are just the structure of the bag. You know, my glue is giving up the ghost now. Right, time to bin that, I think. Okay, so they are just the structure of the bag. They're as the bag came, with the natural folds, or not the natural folds, but the folds that they've put in when they've manufactured or made the bags. So I'm just gluing those down so that when you use this as a pocket, they're not just in the way. So, you know, that's all I'm doing that for. And again, just this flap here. So, and as I say, I'm sure there are other ways of doing this. I'm sure you could make it less bulky. I mean, I just can't be doing with fiddly processes. So I like to just do the quick and easy things. And to be honest, so long as the finished result looks good and is nice to use, that's probably good enough, I think. So that's my thoughts on that. Okay, so hopefully that's all coming together nicely now. So, and again, you can just stick down on the other side just the little flaps there. Again, just, you know, those bits that are the structure of the bag. So that one, and then the one from the other side as well. There we go. I hope that I'm not out of frame, horribly out of frame for this. I have zoomed in a bit, but hopefully not as much as I had. But obviously, due to just the size of the bag and the fiddly nature of what we're doing, you know, that may have gone off frame slightly, but hopefully it hasn't been too bad. Right, so that's my cover. As I say, we're going to fill these bits in down here, but I haven't quite decided what I'm going to fill it in with yet. So just pop that on there while I have a look for something to fill that in with along the bottom. So, I mean, if I make my decision that I'm going to use this one, oh, aren't these just the most adorable images? Absolutely gorgeous. Just having a look. I'm just going to tear this page out because I just wondered whether we could have used just the text. So if I just tear that down. It might not really look very nice, but I'm just experimenting, just seeing what we've got, basically. I mean, that might look quite fun. Let's just have a look with the fabric, because I'm going to have a long piece of fabric running down the side. So if I just bring the fabric in, I'm just going to tear a length there. Oops. Just pop that to one side. Just having a look to see the type of effect that we would have here. I don't mind that actually. So I might just use the text. And what I'll do, I'll just overlap slightly where we're going to have the what effectively is like the spine, you know, the center of the signature. And I'm going to Mod Podge the entire outside of the cover, so it doesn't matter here if I get Mod Podge everywhere. There you go. Okay, so that's that piece, and then obviously we want another piece for here. That's a bit of a shame, isn't it? I had not obviously thought that through very well. Let me tear out another piece. This is where I find I haven't got another piece that's got text both sides, because the last thing I want to do is obviously tear where there's a picture. I'm just trying to find something that's got text in the same place both sides. Okay. Down about here. Okay, put that out of the way. I'm going to have that there. Right, so I'm going to just tear that down. Okay, that looks cute, doesn't it? Right, so again, just apply the Mod Podge, you know, a really healthy, nice, generous coating so that it's not peeling off. And as I say, I am going to Mod Podge the entire outside cover of this anyway. I did that with my own. So let me just pop that to the side since it's out of the way. Okay. Oops, actually, I'm going to move that over. There. So move it down. I'll just tear that little piece there so it's more lined up. There we go. That looks good. Right, so that's my cover now, the outside anyway. So if you've got obviously any pieces that need a bit more glue, you could just run some glue down along them. Now, I mean, you can do that of course once it's bound as well. It's just you might find it easier to actually do it whilst it's not bound. So, you know, just check for any bits that you want to fill in and just add some extra glue if needed. So just having a look here, see whether it's all glued down nicely. Just pop a bit of glue there. Oops. Okay, right. Put the lid back on my glue. I'm trying to be really good at storing the glue. And obviously I'm just going to trim that there and there. Right. So I love how that looks already. I mean, that would not have been my obvious choice to have put this very white text down there, but I do really love how that looks. It just looks really pretty. And then we're going to obviously use this beautiful fabric, and yeah, I think the journal is going to look really fun. So the next thing that we want to do is we've obviously selected our pages and we want to cut them down so that they fit into our journal. So all I've done, I've taken one so far, just going to fold that down like that, fold my cover in so that I can then see the size it needs to be cut down to. Now, I talked about this before. This is where I've torn it out from the magazine pages. I quite like that rough edge, so I will probably cut it on the straight edge. And of course, you could tear these for an even junkier look. Completely up to you. So I'm just going to cut that down like that. Because you obviously want it a bit shorter than your cover, and then it also needs to come in. So again, just going to cut that down, and of course you can use your paper trimmer for this. I have got a paper trimmer, oh my gosh, and clearly I should have used it there. I mean, I just find it fine to cut really, so I don't mind if my pages aren't particularly straight. I think it's fine. So there we go. So open your journal, check how that's going to fit in there. When you close it, that they're not going to be hanging out. Your pages aren't going to be hanging out past your journal. So it fits just. Obviously I can't afford to deviate really from that. So then what you want to do is obviously take all of your pages, using your first one as a template is how I like to do it, and chop them all down so they're all roughly the same size. Again, they don't have to be perfectly sized, you know, they can be slightly different. It doesn't matter. This is your book, you know, or I mean, maybe you'd be making it to sell, but the point is you're not going for that mass-produced, manufactured appearance. We're trying to make something unique and fun. So, you know, if your pages are slightly different sizes, that's all fine. So, and then obviously you want to do that for all of your pages. So I will do that quickly now with mine rather than make you sit through me doing my lump of pages here, and I will be back in a moment. Okay, so I've folded all my pages and I've cut them all down, and they're all kind of there now, neatly stacked. So that's going to be my inside pages of my journal. Now the next thing that we want to do is, obviously during that time of cutting those, the cover has hopefully dried slightly. I mean, obviously it is still a little bit, you know, flimsy, but it's fine, it is drying. So the next thing that we want to do is really, before we bind our journal, cover the inside of your paper bag. So I have a confession to make. I had obviously glued this pocket down to make a pocket here. Please ignore that step, because I suddenly remembered, obviously it's a few weeks since I made my journal, and so it's hard to remember what you've done, isn't it? Do not glue this flap down, because you ideally want to cover the inside of your bag with some paper, hopefully going underneath your flap, because then that's a much neater finish. So again, I've just taken some paper here. This was some of my collage paper, which I didn't end up actually using. I had to alter it. But obviously I printed it out, so I'm just going to use it here. So I'm just cutting that down. Now this is mixing it up for me, because obviously I wanted to go and print out some more of the botanical ballroom to use here, but I'm determined to just use really the things on my desk. In this video I will no doubt have printed some more of the botanical ballroom for the next episode of this, but for this one I just thought, no, this gets ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is just apply the Mod Podge now, and I will just apply it directly to the paper, I think, here. So, you know, again, no rules, just do whatever method suits you best. So I'm just Mod Podging all over here. Again, taking care to get it to the edges really, because they have a tendency to not really want to stick. So going over to the edges as much as possible, and then a little bit here. Okay, okie dokie. Right, hopefully I've got the whole thing covered now. Okay, my lighting's not very good, so I can't really see very well what I've covered and what I haven't. Right, we're going to now stick this down. I'm going to stand up for this so that I can see down here. So I'm just sticking that on, and already I've matched it up. There we go. Like that, and then I'm just going to tuck that under the flap here, like that. Okay, so then I'll just take my card, make sure it's nicely stuck down. Okay, so that's stuck down there. Okie dokie. So you see at the edges it's just got this tendency to not really stick down, so you might need to go around some of your edge pieces there to fill it in. There we go. Check along here. Yep. A bit more there. Okay, pop that down. Oops. Okay, and then again at the bottom here, just go in and just capture those edges that are coming up like that. Yeah. Okay, so that's the inside cover now. So now I just need to fill in this little bottom piece. So again, I might just take again the book page. I'll just use that scrap that we didn't end up using earlier, because So as you can see, it's only a very small sliver here. So I'll just trim that down. Okay. So I'm just going to stick that down like that, and then we just need a tiny piece just to fill in here. So again, and I will actually just try and be a bit careful, because obviously I'm not Mod Podging the inside cover. So there we go. Might just need a bit more here. There we go. Just wipe any excess Mod Podge off. And then I just need a tiny bit of text. Just get that book back again. So just bear with me. This is where I find there's no, I thought there were going to be no pictures there at all, or no pages at all without text. Right, there we go. Hopefully that's enough. So I'm just going to trim that down. Okay. Okay, so I just fill those bits in like that. So just pop that down like that. Okay. Okay, so that's looking good now. So I can move the Mod Podge out to the side. Must remember to wash my brush. I'm a bit rubbish with things like that, as you probably know. Right, so obviously here I just want to trim off the excess here and just tidy up any bits that are overlapping. For instance, here I've just got a bit of that just poking out. There's another bit. Okay. Okay, looking good. So what you can now do is obviously glue that pocket down. So I'm just checking that this is nicely glued. So I might just actually apply a little bit of glue here. There we go. Okay, and then again, just glue your pocket down now. So as I say, I mean, the only reason the pocket we didn't, or I shouldn't have glued down, is just because then you can put your paper underneath the pocket, which then that's just a neater finish really. So I'll just hold that down for a couple of minutes. This is nice fast drying glue, so I don't need to hold it down for long. Right, okay. Okie dokie. So that's our cover. You've got your two massive pockets. There and there. And obviously you're covered on the inside and the outside now. So just going to fold that over again. Okay. So obviously it's slightly tricky to work with because mine is still very wet. So, you know, I would recommend leaving it for a little while. But if you're a bit like me and can't wait, then by all means, just carry on and just persevere anyway. Right, so that's my cover now. We've got our pages. So bring your pages in. Now I've put all of my tatty edges all at the top. I don't think it matters. They don't all need to be at the top. You know, if you wanted to have them some at the top, some at the bottom, or if of course you didn't want the tatty edges, of course don't have them. You know, completely up to you. There we go. So all I'm going to do now is bind my journal. So I like to use my little bulldog clips to hold it all together. So, right, I'm going to sit down for this bit because otherwise I will struggle to do this. Okay, so pop your pieces in where you want your pages. So, you know, ideally you've got a little bit of room at the top and the bottom. Fingers and thumbs again. And then you just want to hold your pages in with your bulldog clips. Of course, you could use pegs, you could use those big giant paper clips, you know, however you want to do it. And again, whatever works for you. Just because this is what I've said I do, of course you must do what suits for you. So then take your pokey tool. I'm going to use this little one. I think it was by Do Crafts. It was a couple of pounds from the shop here called The Range. I don't know quite what it was actually officially called, but it's just in with the craft section. And then you want to punch your holes where you want them. I'm just going to do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So just pop your hole where you want it to go. So we've got one in roughly the middle. Again, I mean, I don't measure. I have seen sometimes people have templates for doing this, and you know, to really get it precise, and that's great. If that works for you, then that, you know, by all means do that. Personally, I would find that more of a faff, and I think I would end up making more errors, but that's just me. So of course do whatever you feel that you need to do. Now these are my threads. I've got this gorgeous colour blue here, which I think is quite fun, and picks up some of that blue, hopefully you can see, in that fabric. So I think I'm going to use this colour to bind it. It's kind of fun to use different coloured threads, I think, sometimes. You know, I mean, obviously, depending on the journal. But if I can use something pretty and colourful for a change, then that's nice to do. Right, I'm having a look now for my massive needle, my needle with the massive eye. Now I can't find it. I normally obviously leave it stuck through something, but for some reason I just have this, which is not a needle, it's another pokey tool, but it's one that's broken. Right, here we go. Knew it was there somewhere. Right. So bundle that all up together. Take out my thread. Okay. And again, there's probably like a really good method to unthreading these. Personally, I don't have a good method. I'm very shoddy. So, you know, do what works for you with your threading of the needle and the thread and all the rest of it. But okay. So obviously I use, you know, a needle with a gigantic eye. Now again, some people are really efficient with their supplies and their methods, and they've actually got a format for working out exactly how much thread that they need and all the rest of it. I'm not that prepared, so I don't have that. So sometimes I just try and kind of pop it on here and think, well, I'm going through that hole, oops, then I might come back through again and then back through again, you know, something like that. So I'm just going to cut my thread. You know, I'm sure again there's better methods of doing this, but I'm not somebody who does things like that, so I just wing it, and sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't, and I think, oh, I should be one of those people with a proper method. So do what works for you, and then just go through there like that, and through your other hole. Okay, and then I'm going to go back through, actually no, I'm going to go back into the middle. Well, hopefully I'm going to go back into the middle. Oh gosh, this is where these types of things just are too fiddly on camera. I can't really get close enough without sticking my head into the video. So yeah, I'm now struggling to actually do this. Right. Okay. So that's through there, and then I think I will just go back through here. Once more through there. Back through there once more. Oops. Come on. And hopefully I've got enough thread left to go back through and tie it. This is where you see I sometimes then find, oops, I've not got enough thread. So if you find a precise way of doing this where you've got the formula, you know, for how much thread you need, you may find that better and more efficient to do. Right, but as it happens, it's worked out fine today. So then you can just tie your thread. And again, you may like to tie a bow. I sometimes do tie a bow, but actually I think tying it in a knot is absolutely fine too. There we go, and we just trim that off. So just going to thread that through one of my embroidery threads. Oops. Suppose I don't lose it the next time. There we go. You see, organised chaos that is, and then I've just chucked it. Now I've chucked it where it was in the first place, which is in my craft bag. Right, so we can undo these now. And we've got the beginnings of our journal. So that's probably enough for today. I really couldn't tell you how long this video's gone on for, because obviously I've stopped and started it so many times. So until I actually join it together, I'm clueless as to actually how long this has gone on for. But I think that's probably enough to get you started anyway, of making your, you know, your holiday type junky, you know, proper junky journal. And yeah, I will come back next time and we'll do some of the inside. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you all again soon. Thanks then. Bye.